When we're thinking about a design and when we're thinking about putting a home together, I mean, ultimately the brief that the clients give us is obviously a huge part of it, but then also just rationally thinking through the pragmatics of the house, how it's going to work, the flow of people within the space, how kids are going to evolve and grow within the space, and then how there's also an opportunity for the house to be used in a number of ways. Hi, I'm Shaun Lockyer of Shaun Lockyer Architects. I'm sitting at Royston, which is a house in Brookfield that we built on an acreage block. Tim Black was the builder, and it's really a wonderful example of a renovation, alteration of a beautiful home with a lot of character that we've put a contemporary spin on to really celebrate the best of living in Brookfield. Brookfield is a really special suburb in Brisbane. It's one of those amazing suburbs that combines, relative ease to get into the city, but also this amazing acreage lifestyle where you drive past horse paddocks and wildlife and bush and landscape to get to these houses on these overwhelmingly large and very green blocks of land. A lot of what we did here was about sort of recalibrating the existing house, adding some new elements, particularly out the back towards the pool and the southern garden. And then really choosing a range of finishes that reflect this lovely warmth and sort of understated elegance to the whole house, which we think has come up in a really special way.
My name's Tim, the Director of Black Developments. We, along with Shaun and his team at SLA, have been appointed on this project for at least 3 to 4 years now. For us, this is truly a milestone project. We're not held by tight character zones, heritage, anything like that out here. We're left with a blank canvas to really let our imaginations run as wide as possible.
When one comes into the entry of this house, there's a lovely clue about the garden to the south beyond, where there's this beautiful view through the staircase, which is adorned with all this beautiful timber detailing. But then as one moves into this main living space, there's this beautiful series of open pavilions that are open to the north and the south garden, and this sort of amazing sense of sort of thresholds as you come from the front yard, through lovely lawn, through the house, there's indoor-outdoor spaces, down into the garden, past the fire pit. And I think the sort of that sense of living in the country and this house being able to offer so many different ways to engage with the block around it, I think is something that's really special about it. And behind me is this gorgeous kitchen that then connects outside with this beautiful outdoor living room, which has the ability to be opened and closed so that you can really take full advantage of living on the southern side of the house when often there's inclement weather, and in winter when there's cooler weather. And then internally there's this beautiful oak which has been laid in a chevron pattern, which has kind of a mixture of really contemporary but also slightly more traditional classical spin. And then within the tiling there are these beautiful terrazzos, and those terrazzos are both in really neutral tones, but then there's just a slightly more playful edge where the sort of salmons are brought in. And there's an element of a slightly more trendy material choice within the house, but done in such a way that we think that there's a lovely timelessness to it.
The garage was a pretty important portion of the design and the construction of the project. Our client made it fairly clear that he wanted to see his cars while he was mowing his rear lawn. 3/4 of it's glazed, 100 square metres, 3 double garage doors, polished concrete. We pretty much took up a lot of the general floor area that we possibly could fit around this house without taking away from the actual living areas. Pool brief was fairly blank and fairly open, so that's where Shaun's brain obviously started to open up, and we ended up with a pool that was cantilevered out of the ground. It's 12 metres long. So obviously, being in Brookfield, it's a fairly leafy and green area. So we've installed a one-of-a-kind submersible pool. Buoyance itself and floats out, closes up. When it's open, you wouldn't even know it's there. It's just underneath the step that you walk into. The main form of the pool is quite impressive. Standing underneath it, it sort of floats off into its own little form with the house just floating behind it. It really does speak for itself.
One of the sort of more surprising things about this house is because it is a renovation and alteration, there are both these opportunities but also challenges. And one of the really lovely things that's come out of that is this beautiful bridge that transitions from the kids' living wing on the one side of the house through to the main bedroom in the area above me, where there's this lovely sense of sort of moving through an attic space. And that's adorned by these beautiful skylights. There's lovely landscaping cascading from that internal bridge, which kind of creates a really interesting but also unexpected element of the house. From there, one sort of dissipates into elements of the existing house, down into the undercroft space, which has been expanded to incorporate an amazing games area and entertainment hub, as well as a beautiful family room that sort of brings you out into the land in different places. So it's a little bit kind of playful, but also it's a big part of the functionality of this house, that you can connect all these spaces in a way that just works for the family.